Have you ever wondered why some people seem to have endless money while never talking about it, never flashing expensive things, and never seeming stressed about finances? Meanwhile, other people are constantly posting about their purchases, bragging about their income, but somehow always seem to be struggling financially? Here's what I've discovered after studying wealth patterns for years. The people who have the most money often display it the least. They've developed habits that create and preserve wealth, instead of habits that just create the appearance of wealth. And today, I'm going to show you exactly what those habits are. These aren't the obvious habits like saving money or investing. These are the subtle, psychological, and behavioral patterns that separate the quietly wealthy from everyone else. The habits that compound over time to create real financial security while keeping you completely under the radar. I'm going to walk you through 7 specific habits that quietly wealthy people share. These are practices you can start implementing immediately, regardless of your current income level. Because here's the secret: these habits don't require money to develop, but developing them almost guarantees that money will follow. But I want you to think about something as we go through these. How many truly wealthy people do you know who constantly talk about money, who post photos of expensive purchases, who need everyone to know how much they earn? The answer is probably none. And there's a very specific reason for that, which we'll explore in habit number 7. The first habit of quietly wealthy people is something I call strategic invisibility. They make deliberate choices to blend in financially, even when they could afford to stand out. This isn't about being cheap or missing out on life. It's about understanding that displaying wealth often works against building wealth. Here's how this works psychologically. When people know you have money, they treat you differently. Family members start asking for loans. Friends expect you to always pick up the check. Service providers charge you more because they assume you can afford it. Social situations become complicated because money dynamics change relationships. But there's an even more important reason for strategic invisibility. When you're not spending money to look wealthy, that money can work for you instead. Every dollar you don't spend on status symbols is a dollar that can compound and grow over time. The quietly wealthy understand this trade-off instinctively. Let me give you a real example. I know someone who drives a 10-year-old Honda Civic, lives in a modest apartment, and dresses like a college student. Most people assume he's struggling financially. In reality, he has over $2 million invested in index funds and real estate. His low-key lifestyle allows him to save over 70% of his income, which compounds into serious wealth over time. The second habit is what I call systematic thinking. Quietly wealthy people don't just set financial goals. They build systems that make achieving those goals inevitable. They understand that you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. This means they automate as much of their financial life as possible. Their investments happen automatically. Their bill payments happen automatically. Their savings transfers happen automatically. They've removed the need to make financial decisions repeatedly by making good decisions once and then systematizing them. But here's what's really interesting about systematic thinking. It extends beyond just finances. Quietly, wealthy people systematize their learning, their networking, their skill development, and their time management. They understand that wealth building isn't just about money management, it's about life management. For example, they might have a system for reading 1 book per month related to their field. They might have a system for reaching out to 5 new professional contacts monthly. They might have a system for reviewing and optimizing their investments quarterly. These systems compound over time, creating advantages that look like luck to outside observers. The third habit is something most people completely misunderstand. Quietly wealthy people are incredibly generous, but their generosity is often invisible. They give money to causes they care about, help family members without expecting recognition, and support friends during difficult times. But they don't talk about it. This habit might seem counterintuitive. If you're building wealth, shouldn't you keep every dollar for yourself? But generosity actually accelerates wealth building in several ways. First, it builds stronger relationships with people who matter. Second, it creates a reputation that leads to better opportunities. Third, it forces you to create financial margin in your life. Think about it this way. If you can afford to be generous while still building wealth, it means you've created enough financial discipline to do both. That level of financial control is exactly what enables long-term wealth accumulation. Plus, generosity creates an abundance mindset, which leads to better financial decisions overall. Here's the fourth habit, and it's one that separates wealthy people from high earners who struggle financially. Quietly, wealthy people optimize for net worth growth, not income growth. They make career and business decisions based on total financial impact, not just immediate compensation. This means they might choose a job with equity upside over one with higher salary. They might start a business with long-term potential rather than taking a high-paying consulting gig. They might invest in real estate that provides tax benefits and appreciation rather than just focusing on cash flow. Most people optimize for monthly cash flow and immediate gratification. Quietly wealthy people optimize for long-term asset accumulation. They're willing to have less spending money now if it means building wealth that provides freedom later. The fifth habit involves something I call information arbitrage. Quietly wealthy people invest heavily in learning, but they focus on knowledge that creates financial returns. They're not just learning for the sake of learning. They're learning to identify opportunities that others miss. This might mean becoming an expert in a specific investment category, developing deep knowledge about an industry before others recognize its potential, or learning skills that are highly valued but not widely available. They use knowledge as a competitive advantage in building wealth. But here's what makes this habit powerful. They often become known as experts in their areas of knowledge, which creates opportunities that wouldn't be available otherwise. People bring them investment deals, consulting opportunities, and partnership proposals. Their expertise becomes a magnet for wealth-building opportunities. The sixth habit is perhaps the most important for long-term wealth preservation. Quietly wealthy people live with significant financial margin. They maintain emergency funds that could cover years of expenses. They keep cash reserves for opportunities, and they never leverage themselves to dangerous levels. This habit provides several advantages. First, it allows them to take calculated risks without threatening their financial security. Second, it positions them to capitalize on opportunities when others can't. Third, it gives them the confidence to make long-term decisions without worrying about short-term fluctuations. Most people live paycheck to paycheck, even high earners. They increase their lifestyle to match their income, leaving no margin for opportunities or emergencies. Quietly wealthy people do the opposite. As their income grows, they increase their margin first, then their lifestyle second. This financial cushion changes everything about how you make decisions. You negotiate from a position of strength. You can wait for the right opportunities instead of taking whatever's available. You can invest during market downturns when others are forced to sell. Financial margin isn't just about security. It's about positioning yourself to build wealth faster. Now here's the seventh and most revealing habit of quietly wealthy people. They treat money as a private matter. They don't discuss their net worth, their investment returns, or their financial strategies with casual acquaintances. Money conversations are reserved for trusted advisors, close family, or potential business partners where financial disclosure is necessary. This habit protects them in several ways. It prevents family drama around money. It avoids creating jealousy or resentment in friendships. It protects them from people who might target them for scams or inappropriate requests. But most importantly, it allows them to focus on building wealth rather than managing other people's opinions about their wealth. There's a psychological benefit too. When you're not talking about money constantly, you're not defining yourself by your financial status. This allows you to make better decisions, because you're not trying to maintain an image or meet other people's expectations about how wealthy people should behave. Here's what's fascinating about these 7 habits. None of them require significant money to implement. You can develop strategic invisibility, systematic thinking, invisible generosity, net worth optimization, information arbitrage, financial margin, and money privacy, regardless of your current income level. But implementing these habits almost guarantees that your wealth will grow over time, because these aren't just habits about managing money. These are habits about developing the character traits that create and preserve wealth consistently. Let me give you a real-world example of how these habits work together. I know a couple who both work middle-class jobs, making a combined income of about $90,000 annually. But they've implemented all 7 of these habits consistently for 15 years. They live in a modest house that's well below what they could afford, driving reliable used cars and shopping for value instead of brands. That's strategic invisibility. They automate their investments and have systems for everything from meal planning to annual financial reviews. That's systematic thinking. They quietly help family members with college expenses and support several charities, but never talk about their giving. That's invisible generosity. They've turned down higher-paying jobs that would require longer hours, choosing to focus on building their investment portfolio instead. That's net worth optimization. They've become experts in low-cost index fund investing and real estate investment trusts, positioning them to spot opportunities others miss. That's information arbitrage. They maintain an emergency fund worth 2 years of expenses and keep additional cash for opportunities. That's financial margin. And they never discuss their finances with friends or extended family, avoiding the social complications that money discussions create. That's money privacy. The result? After 15 years of implementing these habits, they have a net worth approaching $1 million, while living a lifestyle that looks completely ordinary. This is the power of quiet wealth building. It's not about making dramatic changes or taking huge risks. It's about developing the habits that compound over time to create real financial security while keeping you under the radar. Most people approach wealth building backwards. They try to look successful first, then hope success follows. But quietly, wealthy people understand that appearing successful often prevents actually becoming successful. They focus on building the foundation, then letting success emerge naturally from that foundation. Here's the most important insight about these 7 habits. They work because they're sustainable. You can maintain strategic invisibility, systematic thinking, invisible generosity, net worth optimization, information arbitrage, financial margin, and money privacy for decades without burning out or feeling deprived. Compare this to the habits of people who try to look wealthy. They have to constantly earn more to support their lifestyle. They have to constantly update their image to maintain their reputation. They have to constantly worry about maintaining appearances. These habits are exhausting and ultimately self-defeating. But quiet wealth habits create a positive feedback loop. The more you implement them, the easier they become, and the more wealth they generate. Strategic invisibility reduces financial pressure. Systematic thinking reduces decision fatigue. Invisible generosity creates stronger relationships. Net worth optimization creates long-term security. Information arbitrage creates new opportunities. Financial margin creates confidence and positioning. Money privacy creates peace and focus. Each habit supports and reinforces the others, creating a lifestyle that naturally generates and preserves wealth over time. If you want to join the ranks of the quietly wealthy, start implementing these habits today. Make sure to subscribe for more insights like this.